All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Jay LaGuardia. Jay, welcome to the show. So awesome to have you on the show today.
Kevin, thank you so much. This is a real honor and pleasure to be on the show and to share with your audience.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to our conversation today and stuff. And I want to start off by giving a shout out to Jessica and the folks over at the podcast guest platform because man, I love Jessica. I've come to really appreciate her over the last couple of years because she has referred some really amazing guests for this podcast. And when she, now whenever I get an email from her, it's kind of like it's like Christmas time, Jay. I'm just like, ooh, I don't know what's going to be in here, but it's probably going to be pretty good because it's coming from Jessica. And that's how you and I met. And so, Jessica, if you happen to be listening to this, thank you so much. I really appreciate you and the work that you guys are doing at the podcast guest platform. And so, Jay, what I want to do is I want to start. I want to turn it over to you. I want to give you the opportunity to be able to, share, about what you do and who you serve and what inspires you most about the work that you get to do and the impact you're making in this world, as well as some of your backstory. Because I'll tell you what, every entrepreneur has an amazing story. And Jay, I know you're no exception. And so I'll just turn it over to you a little bit.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, how long is the show? I want to make sure the backstory could be a little long, but I'll keep it to the highlights. But the first part of your question is what inspires me, and it's really quite simple. My family inspires me, but really, it's being able to serve humanity and to make a difference in the world, and to be a light that shines upon the world. That when God calls me home, people or who survived me will go, that was a life well lived. He touched a lot of lives, and we're very grateful that he was here. And so, by that, everything I do has to fit within my life mission, and that is to inspire millions of people to live happier, healthier, more prosperous lives. So, every decision I make, every business that I'm involved in has to meet that mission. And if it doesn't, it's actually quite easy for me to turn down opportunities if it's not in alignment with that particular mission.
Mhm.
I've been an entrepreneur for a better part of 35 years. I started as a chiropractor,
Okay.
and I met my wife in chiropractic school in Atlanta in 1986, and a kid from New York met a girl from Wisconsin. I was hoping I'd meet a girl from either from the South or maybe California, but if I met somebody from Wisconsin, listen, Wisconsin's a beautiful place. Those places have much nicer weather, but we met at work. And and so we've been here in Western Wisconsin now for 35 years. So I practiced for 25 years,
Okay.
and I had 10 clinics at one time. I've coached, I've speaking, so on and so forth. And then it really started to morph into many other different businesses. We have a very successful real estate development company. We own fitness studios, a hormone clinic, um, and a few other businesses as well too. So again, I love starting and creating things that are going to help change and improve people's lives. That's what excites me to see the change, the life changing experiences people can have by doing business with us. I've been coaching for 15 years, almost 17 years actually now,
Okay.
and I love working with small business entrepreneurs because this kind of starts the struggle part. When I first got into business, I had no understanding of how to run a business, how to read financial reports, how to inspire and lead a team, how to create a vision, how to build successful systems and processes, how to market, how to sell. So basically, I had zero experience. And the first business we bought was a seven-figure business. So we took a quite a risk at a very, very young age, and had some good mentors. But there was a moment in time We were probably about 3 years in, and the business was struggling mightily. In fact, we had contracted about 35% from where it was when we purchased it. Feeling the financial stresses, my wife was my business partner, so the stress at home, try to separate those two are very, very difficult. We were wearing many different hats. It was affecting our marriage, it was affecting our family, affecting the business, affecting the employees. And, we were at the point where my wife said to me, no uncertain terms, she said, unless we get some help, she goes, we're not going to make it. And that was very eye-opening because even as a young teenager, I knew my highest value in life was to be a husband, a father, a dad. Um, because I grew up in a divorced family, like so many others. But this divorce was a bit unique and different. I had shared with you in a previous conversation, this divorce easily could have been a made for movie or a made for TV movie because it had everything you can think of. It had adultery, it had attempted murder, it had bribery, it had kidnapping, all the things that typically go on in a divorce proceedings. So when my mother got pregnant with me, I was the fourth of four children, and my father took off, and so I had these abandonment issues. Um, and as I got older, it was manifesting as anger because I kept suppressing the feeling. I didn't want to deal with the emotion. I didn't want to deal with the hurt because it was just too painful to bring up. I couldn't imagine why would a man leave his son behind? Was I not lovable? Is there something that I did? There must be something wrong with me. I mean, it could have been him. It must be me, right? And so these are the internal thoughts that I had that just really dominated. And so as I went through my teenage years, the anger got worse. The outbursts got worse. And, it was becoming quite evident that my anger was really a very devastating emotion that was, affecting everyone around me. And then fast forward, I was in graduate school. I met my soon-to-be wife, and we were dating for about a year and a half. We had gotten engaged, and one night I had come home. I was out with some of my buddies who were playing ball, and it was about midnight, and I walked into the apartment, and every single light in the apartment was on. What was unique to that was she's always one who goes to bed early, so she's usually in bed by 9:30 or 10. So something was up. I went to the bedroom and she was on the bed crying hysterically. The type of tears where I anticipated that she was going to tell me her mother or her father passed away. Unconsolable tears. Couldn't even speak. So I'm like, babe, what's going on? What's going on? And she couldn't even speak. She's just pointing towards me, like, what? So she pointed over to the counter, and I stumbled along over to the counter, and it was an EPT test. I had never seen one before. I didn't even know what the colors meant. So quickly, I figured out that she was pregnant. So I said, are you pregnant? She goes, yes. And I said, it's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. I know this is not ideal. We got a year left. We have so many things we have to do. Yeah, having a baby now is not going to be the best thing, but we'll make it work. And she goes, no. She goes, you don't understand. She goes, I was going to break up with you tomorrow. And I was devastated. And I said, why? She goes, I love you more than anybody I've ever loved in my life, but I can't deal with your anger. I don't like who I am around you. I never know when you're going to explode. If I turn the wrong channel on the TV, if you're going to go into a fit of rage. And at that moment, I realized that the one thing that was most important to me, which was at the doorstep, was being married and having a family. I was going to lose before I even had it, almost repeating the same things that happened back when I was a young boy. And I begged her. I mean, when I tell you I'm on my knees begging, give me a chance, give me a chance. I'll do whatever it takes. I said, I'll get help, because she was saying you need help. And no one wants to admit they need help, especially a 22-year-old cocky, young guy. So I did. I went and got some help and helped, some improvement. But really, what really changed my life was fast forward back to when she said to me, we need help with our business or we're not going to make it. So this is 2 times within the first 6 years of our relationship. As the universe has it, the next day, one of my close friends called me and he said to me, he goes, I just met this guy. I think he might be a great resource for you. He's a business coach. He said, why don't you have a conversation with him? I said, okay. So we set up this phone call and I get on the line. He says, tell me what's going on in your business. So for the next 5 to 7 minutes, I just verbally vomited all over him. I was telling him how everything in my life was going wrong because of, my relationship with my wife, my employees, the insurance companies, all these things of outside myself, I was giving power over to. And I didn't realize it at the time until I got done speaking and there was this dead silence. And I thought he hung up. And I'm like, hello, you still there? And he goes, yeah, I'm here. And he goes, I know exactly what your problem is. And I'm thinking, great, someone's finally going to tell me what I need to do. And this is the words that he said that changed my life forever. He said, Jay, your life and your business is waiting for a leader to show up, and it's not you. And at that moment, it was the first time anyone had ever held me accountable for my actions. But more importantly, Kevin, at that moment, I held myself accountable. I realized that everything that existed in my life had to do with every thought, action, behavior, belief that I have taken up to that point, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to take credit for the good, I also have to take, the credit for the things that weren't going so well. So at that moment, I decided to own it. And I said to him, I said, will you take me on as a client? Will you help me? And he goes, yeah, on one condition. And I said, what is it? He goes, are you coachable? I said, define coachable. He said that you're willing to do whatever it takes, you're willing to get uncomfortable, you're willing to look within and recognize all the inherent weaknesses that you have and willing to put the work in to grow and change. Because if you're not going to do it, don't waste my time.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'll do it. Absolutely. So that started the journey. And, it was probably 2 years of really intensive study with him. I mean, but I was all in, fully committed. And we started to see changes, right? And the interesting thing, Kevin, is people outside of me, right, saw the changes. I didn't see it in myself. People started recognizing, say to my wife, he seems different. There's something different about him. But then we started to see it in a business. I started to see an improvement in our relationship, in our marriage, so on and so forth. And then that was 2 years after. And then the subsequent 2 years, we took that business and we tripled it. And it was because I learned how to lead. I learned how to become a heart-centered, non-tyrannical leader. I learned how to be a business person. I learned how to read and understand spreadsheets and profit and losses and create budgets. I learned, more importantly, how to set a vision and inspire a team to want to be a part of that vision. And not only to be a part of that vision, but to make that vision their own and to drive the business as much as I drove the business because they were so committed to it. So we went from a revolving door of we couldn't keep people. I couldn't keep people because no one wanted to work for me, and I wouldn't blame them. I wouldn't want to work for me. To somebody where people stayed for decades. And then we just everything began to transform. And then I turned around and I opened, 10 more clinics and so on and so forth. So the point of the story is this. It's who you are that determines how well what you do works. And what that means is that it's our thoughts, actions, and behaviors that create the reality that we live in. And so if you want something new and different, you have to be self-aware and examine of the thoughts, actions, and behaviors that you're taking, and actions that you're taking on a daily basis, because those will create a direct reflection of the life that you're going to experience.
Yeah.
So that inventory, I had to go through everything, my relationship with my wife, with my business, with myself, with myself. And what I mean by that is that I didn't like myself, let alone love myself. So I was engaged in a lot of destructive behaviors. And that was just because I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't think I deserved love. I didn't think it was good enough because that was the story I told myself as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So all this ties itself in together. And I had to look at that. And there were some really dark moments, very, very, very dark moments going through that. Um, you know, Bad depression and suicidal thoughts. Thank God I obviously never did it, but I mean, it got so bad. I was thinking about, I don't know if I can do this, and he was there with me every step of the way. And, it's a sign of an amazing coach. It really was. Um, and, but, on the other side now, the work that I do with people is people come to me and want to know how to grow their business. Sure, I can help them with that, but I want to know where their headspace is at.
Yeah.
I want to know what their limiting thoughts are, what their fears are. Why are they at this thermostat within their business that can't exceed? Well, I know what it is because it's their mindset stuff there. You can't go from a 500,000 to 1 million or 1 million to 5 million at the same mindset that got you to that point. The mindset has to grow as well. In fact, grow first before you can put those changes in place. Because if you put those changes in place, what you'll see is a bump, but inevitably you're going to revert back to your set point, your mindset point. So mindset has to be examined. So I really consider myself, when I talk about personal and professional, I want to learn about the individual and what's holding them back, as well as what's going on in their business. And that's what drives me. It's what motivates me, is seeing people have those kind of breakthroughs, because it's literally life changing as it was life changing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And how powerful that had to be when that person told you that, it's your business is waiting for a leader to show up, and right now it's not you. And yeah, that stings in the moment a little bit. But man, I'll tell you, how powerful is it when we do discover that, you know what? This really lands on me. This lands on me,
Mm-hmm.
and I have the responsibility and the power to move this forward the way I really want to. I might have to make some changes. I might have to grow as a person. I might have to learn a few things and stuff, but I have the power to do that. And it's all within me versus blaming this person, that person, the other person, or this set of circumstances or whatever, that in spite of all that, we still have the power. It's all about how we respond. It's not what happens to us, it's how we respond to that. And that's
It's
an
true.
empowering thing to discover, And yeah, yeah.
Which is how, what inspired me to do the Triple P Life podcast, because
Okay.
I talk about empowering dreams, igniting passion, and accelerating prosperity. So, when you empower your mindset, you're creating the fuel necessary to take those passions and turn them into, transform it into success in any area of your life. It could be your health, it could be your relationships, it could be your business, it could be your finances, whatever it might be. And then the end product, as you empower your mindset and then you fuel that passion, you become prosperous. And not necessarily just financially prosperous, but amazing relationships. I mean, the kind of relationships that every day I give God so much love and appreciation for, my marriage, my kids, some key relationships that I have. I feel so blessed I can turn to these people at any moment in time. They will be there without any questions asked.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you've already alluded to this a little bit, but I want to dig deeper, and I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of our listeners. So I'm going to ask it. So Jay, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Sure. Yeah, as I mentioned, there's been so many people who are influential in my life. It'd be unfair to say it was just one person, but one person has had the greatest impact. But I do want to acknowledge the another, and one is my father-in-law, who taught me what it was to be what it is to be a professional.
Okay.
Um, he was the consummate healer. I'd never met anybody who was so in tune with human beings on a healing level. Um, this man never had a bad day. He was a wealth of wisdom and knowledge and compassion. And I grew up at his feet to learn how to act and be a professional and what it looks like to show up each day, bringing excellence. In the, let me see here, in the near 20 years I knew him before he passed away, I've never saw him have a bad day ever, even though I knew what was going on inside. It was always about the people he served. It was never about him. He always put himself second to that. Not that he didn't take care of himself, but when it was time to show up, it was about service. It was about caring and loving. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Dr. Joe Stuckey. Uh, and then I mentioned to you the coach who had told me that on the phone is Dr. Larry Markson, and and we obviously became very, very close. My wife, we acknowledged he saved her marriage, he saved her business, and he said to me one day, he said, you know why I was so hopeful that we can work together. He said, because I saw a younger me in you. I saw the same exact thing. He said he dealt with anger, he dealt with, destructive behaviors. He struggled in business early on, and he said, I saw the potential in you. I didn't know if I could help you get to that potential. He says, but he says, I'm proud to say you way exceeded the potential I saw in you. And he
Wow.
would push me, he would challenge me. And anytime I felt like, stepping away from that challenge, there's no way he would allow me to do so.
Mhm.
Um, and he knew how to push my buttons too. And so I will say this with pure, um, just pure authenticity. A great coach is is just invaluable. Whatever I paid him is nothing compared to what I've received in return,
Mhm.
year
Mhm.
after year, decade after decade. A coach can radically transform any and every aspect of your life, the right coach, I should say. And my opinion is that everyone needs a coach. I don't care who you are, what business you're in. Moms need coaches, how to be a better mom or dad, right? Our kids need coaches when they're playing sports. We all need coaches. And
Yeah.
so I think there's this mindset, Kevin, is that, hey, I'll just figure it out on my own, because that was my mindset too.
Mhm.
And it set me back for years because I
Yeah.
was too arrogant to ask for help
Mhm.
because I was going to do it my way. Well, my way was failing. And fortunately, I didn't wait till I failed, right? But if I continued down that road, everything would have been lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the two most instrumental coaches that really have had the greatest impact on my life, and why I feel so passionate about doing what I'm doing, because I hope to be even somewhat close of those two coaches to
Yeah.
help the people I'm honored to serve.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, interesting. I I can totally attest to what you were just talking about because I've had a coach for years, and I couldn't imagine life without that person in my life. and
Sure.
because they can see they can see, they've just been down that road, and they can see things that, I mean, he's constantly pointing things out. Well, this is what's coming up. And I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't have seen that. And I really appreciate
So
you
true.
sharing that with me. You know? And and it's and so I don't know about your experience, but I can tell you my experience, if I had to put a percentage to it, I would say it's probably my coach and I, it's probably, I don't know, 15-20% like strategy and tactics and that kind of stuff. And about 80% this right here, mindset, this right between my two ears, and dealing with that. And and it's a continual thing, it's just a continual growth thing. And heck, I'll be 60 years old next month, and I feel like at 60 years old I'm just now really starting to figure stuff out. You know? And
That's pretty
so
empowering, isn't it?
it is. And and it's like I was talking with Jamie just last week, and I was telling him, I said, you know what? What's really cool coming up on 60 is I can tell you with 100% confidence, my biggest impact is yet in front of me. It is definitely not behind me and stuff. I mean, we've done
Mm.
a lot of cool stuff, but my biggest impact is yet to happen. It's happening now, and it's and yeah, and it feels so good, and so I'm curious for you, Jay. So for either one of these people that you've talked about, what is an example of a situation where you personally, you got to make a really big, a really substantial impact, and maybe even in the moment, maybe it even surprised you a little bit, but you also know, man, that would have never happened if not for my relationship with either one of the people that you have talked about here. What's an example of something like that, Jay?
It's a tough question because there's a lot. Um, so to be clear, is it something I learned from them or something that I learned from them that kind of took me in a different direction? I just want to be clear on the
Yeah, it's
question.
it's something that you learned from them that then you applied, and then you got, so like I look at my own life, man, I've been able to impact a lot of people's lives because of stuff I've learned. But if it wouldn't have been for the person back here teaching me that, that would have never happened. Or if I wouldn't have had that experience, that would have never happened, kind of a thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it gets back to um, learning how to empower your mindset. It's learning about it's learning about the importance of understanding what your beliefs are, where did they come from, and really identifying, are the beliefs that I hold, are they beliefs that were given to me or ones that I have accepted as my own? I don't really know anybody who does this. And so your audience may be saying, what the hell is he talking about? Here, let me give you an example. From 3 months to 9 months, excuse me, to 9 years old is when over 90% of our subconscious mind is developed.
Okay.
And the reason is because we are in this brainwave called theta during that period of time. It's the dominant brainwave young children live in. That brainwave is the most auto-suggestive and goes directly into the subconscious mind. So when a child hears, we can't afford that, or money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are evil, you're downloading that data right into their subconscious mind, where they now start to create a scarcity belief or mindset. I don't have access to it. We're not rich. I can't, I don't have the ability to become prosperous. And it could be anything. It could be a gym teacher telling you Don't worry about, you're kind of slow and, a little squatty and you'll probably never be a really good basketball player. And he didn't mean it maliciously, but that stung. And when the emotion hit along with that belief now becomes a dominant belief. So guess what? The next time the kid goes out on the basketball court with his buddies, and maybe kicks the ball around or misses the rim, he's thinking about what that gym coach said. And now he's strengthening that belief system. It could be a 10-year-old little girl. And she goes sees her grandmother. And she hadn't seen her since last summer. And she says to her, gee, honey, you gained a little weight there. You might want to watch yourself. Again, not meant maliciously. But the 10-year-old hears, I'm fat. I'm not pretty. And I'm telling you that as a direct story from my daughter, right? Now, I know my mom didn't mean that in a malicious way. But what my daughter heard was, and she had been getting teased from her friends as well, too. She went through this chubby phase when she was going through adolescence. And that turned into an eating disorder. And it started from that moment. So what I'm saying is that as kids, we're being programmed all the time from mothers, fathers, teachers, preachers, from our environment, from society, and from culture. We hear these messages, and the more we hear them, and the more that they evoke an emotion, it literally creates linkages in our brain called neuroplasticity that hardwires these thoughts, and those thoughts become our dominant beliefs. We then take those thoughts into our adolescence, teenage, and adult years, and then they begin to manifest. These are people who struggle with money. Either they're not good at keeping money, earning money, saving money, or investing money. They have a bad relationship with money. Could be people who are struggling with their health or with their weight their entire life. And so he took me through this process, literally, of examining all these limiting beliefs and then identifying which one were mine and which are the ones that, I had learned. And then I started to break them down, the ones I no longer wanted to carry. And there's different tools. They're called the 8 success habits to help you rewire your subconscious mind to break the linkages from the old beliefs to changing to the new beliefs. And that is journaling, meditation, affirmations, and goal setting. Those are the 4 keys that help re-change and rewire your subconscious mind. So when I talk about these success habits, when I talk about having a morning routine, just like you do for going to the gym to make your body stronger, you need to have a morning routine to work on your mind to make your mind stronger. And the more you go to the gym, the more you exercise, the more fitter you become, right? The more fit you become. The same thing that happens with our mindset. And so it's not by accident I went from a very angry, bombastic, somebody who, was verbally abusive, negative, toxic, scarcity mindset, completely changed that person to who I am today, but it took that work. So I still apply that work now. I still have those tools to utilize, but I use those tools also to help my clients as well too, with the limiting beliefs that challenge them, that have held them back from truly achieving their goals. So that's the number one thing I would say to answer to your question.
Yeah, that is powerful. That's really powerful. Jay, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today and just share from your heart. And the goal for this podcast has always been right from the get-go. I want to give, entrepreneurs like yourself the opportunity to share your story and your experience around this topic of relationships. And then for the other side of the equation, which is our listeners who are also entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs, I want to use these conversations to just inspire them to place an intentional focus on creating more real, meaningful, rewarding, and profitable relationships in their own lives. And with your help, Jay, we definitely delivered on that today. So thank you so much. Any like for anybody that's listening to this going, man, Kev, I really like Jay. I really love how he shows up. Some of the stuff that he shared with me is really resonating too. How can they get more info? Any resource, any websites that we can share with them?
Sure. You can check out my book, Change Your Mind, Change Your Destiny, The 8 Habits of Success, which is an Amazon bestseller.
Okay.
So I talk about my experiences. I go over each of the habits. And this book, which is different than a lot of other personal growth books, actually has tactical steps how to implement each of the 8 habits.
Okay.
They can certainly check out our podcast, the Triple P Life Podcast, which is on all your favorite websites and podcast platforms, including YouTube, where we talk about this. We talk like you. We're going to have you on the show and other entrepreneurs and people who are doing amazing things. And um, our website, which is powerpassionprosperity.com, which has a lot about our coaching, what we do with our clients, and or people just want to reach out and have a conversation, say hello, or ask questions and follow up from what I spoke about today, or want to do a deeper dive. They can reach out on social media at Dr. J LaGuardia, and it's LaGuardia, or you can email me, Dr. J at tripleplife.com, Dr. J at tripleplife.com. I've always made it my mission, if someone seeks me out, whether it's via email, text, or social media, um, I always respond. And it's me who responds, not my team.
Awesome. Awesome. Jay, any last thing you feel led to share before we call it a wrap?
Yeah, I would say this is that life is an amazing journey, and you're going to experience challenges and obstacles, and that's okay. Embrace those challenges. Those challenges is what builds your character. Those challenges are opportunities for growth. Don't look at them as resistance, because what we resist persists. If you look at those challenges as an opportunity to become the next best version of you, then you're going to see each one of those as an opportunity, and as not as I mentioned, as an obstacle. So embrace your obstacles, embrace your challenges. Each day, show up with love and gratitude, the two strongest vibrational energies in the universe. When you're expressing love and gratitude, you naturally are going to attract the right people, places, and things in your life that are going to create unlimited opportunities for you. Be
Amen.
incredible at building relationships. Be free with your heart, right? Don't make love conditional. Give it freely, even if it hurts,
Yeah.
even if it hurts. And finally, create abundance mindset. Abundance is abundant health, abundant emotional well-being, financial well-being. And with those tools and tactics, there's no way that you can't live your triple P life, is what I said. It's about empowering your dreams, igniting passion, and accelerating your prosperity. Because there's a short window we have. Don't squander it.
Yeah.
Go grab it.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Well, Jay, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. Really appreciate it and really appreciate you.
Thank you, Kevin, so much. It's been my honor and pleasure. And I'm very grateful for you. And I wish your audience nothing but health, happiness, and success.
Absolutely.